Giants at Broncos. Broncos don't cover 7-point favorites, but they somehow sneak out a 33-32 win. I say somehow because this game was 19-0 heading into the fourth quarter. The Broncos' 33 points in the fourth quarter were the most by a team who had not scored going into the fourth quarter. It was truly an insane game. 46 points scored total in the fourth quarter. That was my number for this one. That was the most in any fourth quarter of the season. Second most was actually when the Giants played the Cowboys, when they scored 41. So the Giants have a history of fourth quarter debacles. They've actually allowed 95 points in the fourth quarter of the season. Far and away the most in the NFL. It's like 14 points per fourth quarter. I don't know what to say. There's so much to talk about in this one, but I just thought that it was absolutely hilarious. The difference, it felt like Jaxson Dart played 3 good quarters and then a disastrous fourth quarter, whereas Bo Nix played 3 terrible quarters and then pretty much a lights out fourth quarter. So his first 3 quarters, Bo Nix was 11-25 for 105 yards. Fourth quarter, he goes 16-25, 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, 46 more yards on the ground, and 2 more touchdowns. And the game basically decided by a missed extra point and then a made field goal on the other side for the Denver Broncos.
This felt like watching a year's worth of football in one quarter. Like that's the best way I can describe it. It felt like watching the entire year of the Broncos and the entire year of the Giants happen in one quarter. I think Jaxson Dart and the Giants are a very funny offense because they rely so much on the chaos. They rely so much on like go make something happen. And you can tell when you look at his stats and you look at Dart's play, like he was 15 of 33, but on those 15 completions, he had 283 yards. So I actually thought they did some really cool stuff with like max protection, getting bigger. I think the Bellinger touchdown was really nice, and it was a really nice design to get Alex Singleton in coverage. And Daniel Bellinger was wide open. And then I think his other touchdown was pretty wide open too. But his best throw was the one to Bellinger in the short pylon. I think in like second or third quarter that was ended up in a drop. That was his best throw. But you could tell that I sort of still feel like they need more in like the drop back passing game, which is fine. It's fine right now because where Jaxson Dart is as a quarterback is you can't really blitz him because he's so chaotic in a good way. It is a good chaos because he can scramble around and he's going to make something happen. But if you don't blitz him, you ask him to read out those coverages. That's something that he really can't do right now. So that's fine because I think Bo Nix on the other side, at one point, Bo Nix had 42 passing attempts for under 200 yards, which is just the stinkiest way to run an offense. It is just like god awful. You're throwing the ball and it's not going anywhere. But I do think some of the issues with the Broncos really sort of pop up when you can't run the ball. They couldn't run the ball on the Giants defense. This is the second week in a row they haven't been able to run the ball. And you can tell that the way they want to run their offense optimistically is through the run game, and then you just have some real nice designer stuff that Sean Payton likes to run. But then the fourth quarter, they realized, like, look, man, this isn't going to work. We need to make a comeback. So they just let Bo Nix kind of just play a little bit and open up the passing game. I thought the pin pull touchdown that Bo Nix scored on was really nice. I thought that was awesome. But it felt like the fourth quarter was both these quarterbacks like trying to like out Bozo the other one, because the last 2 drives of this game, none of it made sense.
The Dart ending, I have the plays written down. The end of his game was an incredible sequence. So he threw the pick, which was like I audibly screamed. It's just you can't throw a pick in that. They were up by 10 points. You objectively, I think there's just over, there's like 4 minutes left in that. You just can't throw a pick. Throws a pick. And then the next one, they have a chance to ice the game. If they can convert a third down, Broncos were out of timeouts. You get down to just above the 2-minute warning. You would have given the ball back at worst with like 30 seconds. Wan'Dale Robinson open, bad overthrow in that one. Then to start the last drive, so they have to punt it away. Last drive, Starts with a sack, then a bad overthrow to Jalen Hyatt, and then basically a throw that two guys could have picked. And that was like the problem for the Broncos on multiple occasions, that they ran into each other and both dropped it. And then the fourth down conversion, which was an awesome play to Wan'Dale Robinson, that he gets popped, you get an extra 15. And then the next throw, he tries to throw another pick. Two guys collide again for the Broncos, then a sideline incompletion, then the controversial pass interference, which, like, controversial, it was just a terrible call.
It's an awful call.
Sucks that we had, at least it didn't decide the game, because obviously the Broncos still win. It was as bad as the Travis Hunter, if not worse, as the Travis Hunter and the Cincinnati Bengals one that ended up screwing them. Awful call. That's why Sean Payton got a penalty afterwards. Then he has the go-ahead touchdown, and then that was it. Then they lost.
He tried to throw like 3 interceptions on that game, on that last drive. The Surtain one was probably the funniest one, because there's 3 guys there. And after that one, I kind of said, like, hey, man, you don't need to go get the home run on the first play. And you could tell that he was looking to answer right back with a touchdown. He was looking to go get that score right back. And I think it was the first play. Like, they had drawn up something like, I think it was the Wan'Dale Robinson overthrow, where it's like, dude, you can just you can matriculate this ball downfield. You don't have to try and go flip the scoreboard with every single throw. But that pass interference call was awful. Like, objectively, I do think it was worse than the Travis Hunter one, because Riley Moss is in perfect coverage. He turned his head. The biggest thing that people say on those DPI calls that are kind of like BS calls is like, well, he should have turned his head. He did. He did everything that you want him to do and was still punished for it. And it felt like in the moment that was going to be the biggest, like, long-term play of ball don't lie. After they scored, it was like, oh, this is, and they missed the extra point. It was like, oh yeah, this is going to be a ball don't lie moment. This is going to be an incredibly long-term ball don't lie. And then Bo Nix gets the ball and tries to throw it at Cortland. He was throwing the ball to Cortland Sutton.
100%.
He was absolutely.
That made two different big completions, because we didn't even talk about the crazy Theo Johnson touchdown, a 41-yard touchdown that bounces off of Wan'Dale Robinson's chest into Theo Johnson for a 41-yard score in the fourth quarter. And then he was trying to throw the dig. He was 100% trying to throw the dig to Cortland Sutton, and it ends up in Marvin Mims' hands.
And even on, I think, one of the drives before the Theo Johnson touchdown, Troy Franklin catches a touchdown that happens the exact same way as the Theo. Nothing made sense in this game. This was the most, like, we're just throwing random outcomes into the generator and seeing what happens. Like, Troy Franklin double catch touchdown, sure. Bo Nix going to try and throw the ball to Cortland Sutton, ends up in Marvin Mims' hands, sure. But I do think the biggest show of confidence and one of the best throws Bo Nix made was the back shoulder the fade to Cortland Sutton, which has been kind of their go-to in big moments. It is Cortland Sutton, go up and get the ball. And he has been so good in those moments. He has been like their big play. He has been their, like, he's not an explosive receiver, but he is so good in that 10 to 15 yard range, where he's living on the sideline, basically. He turns those 50-50 catches into 60-40 for his side, and he just goes and makes plays, which I think is needed for a Broncos offense that doesn't really have playmakers right now.
Yeah, when you watch him, you could tell in this one also, like, Troy Franklin had a couple of big plays that a better receiver makes. I thought Marvin Mims had one as well, where it's like if he had a dude opposite, if it was Cortland Sutton that he was throwing to in those situations, that ball probably is hauled in. But there was a second after Sutton got up from that where I'm like, oh, Sutton thought he went out of bounds. Where I'm like, I think he's just gonna, like, and if he would have waited or like spiked the ball or like made a first down marker or anything, they may not have gotten that spike off in time, because it happened with 2 seconds left. But thank God he didn't. I want to end with this, though, with Jaxson Dart, just because there is a lot to like. And it feels like, to me, when I watch him, you know how there's like a theory of like childhood development about how you're supposed to like let kids, bounce into walls. Like, you're not supposed to stop them when they're roughhousing, because it's when they get hurt, or like not when they get hurt, but like when they like play a little too rough and then get a sore, that's when they learn. It's like, okay, I went too far. I can't do that. That feels like every Jaxson Dart's like, He's bouncing off of walls. He's doing like everything. He's making all the mistakes that maybe you can't make just because like he's got to learn. He's like speed running, learning how to play quarterback in the NFL. But you can't argue with the results right now. Like he is, for each dumb decision, each crazy play where it's like, what was that? You have another 1 to 2 where it's like, that was different. That was unique. That was a play that the high end guys at the NFL make. So I think if you're a Giants fan right now, you at least just got to be thanking God that you're not watching Russell Wilson play anymore. Like you're at least happy as hell that you're not suffering through whatever the heck that was when Russ was out there.
It won't be boring with Jaxson Dart. It will never be boring. That's the thing. If you want to like trade efficiency, like I think Jaxson Dart obviously has been more efficient, but it will not be boring with Dart in at quarterback. And I think that sort of just creates some fun moments.